Hello to you all, and welcome to Pyramid Energy. I'm going to be doing a reading for someone who is going through an intense period. This intensity can be defined as a lot of movement, okay? A lot of movement where a lot of choices need to be made while the actual changes that are happening are not yet clear. Not enough answers is what I'm hearing. And so if this energy feels familiar to you, we're going to read further and bring you some clarity. What I'm seeing here is like winds of change. You know, when something's been in a certain place for a very long time and you need a huge gush of wind, this is the energy moving, and something is then carried from where it was and is taken to a new place. That's what I'm seeing. And the confusion and the absence of clarity is more around this being sort of a period of chaos. Lots of things moving, and so you don't quite see it or understand where everything will land. And that's why it's difficult to figure out what choice to make, when to take steps, is because things are moving so quickly. What I can assure you of already, and I felt this as I was shuffling just for the first card, I could feel the high energy movement and the fast movement. I could feel the fastness. But I felt a flicker in my lower belly. And, you know, that reminded me of the kick of a baby, and I can assure you that this is sending this environment that you're experiencing all of this shifting in to a new place, to a new era, to a new dawn, and a new horizon. What I'm getting from the term new horizon, it's as though you can't see the horizon right now, but that because you'll land yourself in a completely sort of different place, you also can't see how different and how much more expansive the new horizon will be. And so that's a message of reassurance. In your recent past, I have the Sun and the Five of Swords. And this is telling me that you've just come through a period where everything was revealed. Everything. Everything is now out in the open and everything is now changing. Even though you've got the Sun and the Five of Swords together, you know, the Sun is what we can almost refer to as a card of, yes, ultimate fulfillment, but here I want to say full revelation. Okay, and usually it is a joyous card. Okay, it's the Sun. Has a lot of energy and the sense of a lot of promises fulfilled. But when you put it with the Five of Swords, this guy, you see, he's got a headache. He's trying to sort of digest all the changes, all the implications of this full revelation. And so what I'm seeing is that even though this new information is a lot to handle right now, it is also a promise fulfilled. And so that's another message of encouragement. This energy is intense. Under the deck, I've got the Seven of Wands. I'm going to keep it in the deck. I'm not going to show it on the screen, but it's a card where there's also energy entering into this lady sitting on a sort of meditation cushion. And so she is trying to stay calm. And you can see that she's working through this energy. You can definitely see that she's working through movement. Okay, and that she has to deal with what she's dealing with, but it is a sign of movement. Something else I'm picking up on quite a lot is hesitation. This is the hesitation of making decisions, not being sure whether the decision you're making is the right one or not, all while trying to stay calm. All while trying to stay calm. And if you can imagine, when we talk about the winds of change, you know, this sounds ideal, but in reality, in the face of, let's call it heavy wind, it can actually feel difficult to breathe normally. This energy is intense. At the top of mind, I have the Moon and the Queen of Swords. These cards fell out of the deck at the same time, and honestly what they're saying to me is like, what on earth is going on here? You know, Queen of Swords is a card of someone who is really reckoning with the real questions, okay, and trying to get honest with themselves or another person. And the Moon is like darkness, what cannot be seen, what is hidden. And so that's where I see you. I see you really trying to understand the behavior of those around you, to understand what drives them, what is making them behave the way they are behaving. And what's coming to me as I see this, you could be dealing with one person or a number of people or just a situation, however this resonates in your space, and it actually could resonate in more than one plane of your life. What I'm seeing here is that because we're dealing with the winds of change, the people that you are asking yourself these questions about, they are in the middle of the same change. They are, I want to say, victims of the same winds. Okay, so they are also going through an intensity. So it's just that your way of handling intensity and their way of handling it are not the same. And I'm seeing polar opposites. And when I look back down at the spread, I see the sun and the moon. This is polar opposites. The sun is like full revelation and the moon is darkness. Can't see anything. And under the deck, I have the Two of Cups. And what that card is telling me is like perfect conditions. It's as if this is like you are the perfect match for this situation, is how I'd put it, to bring this change. Things are coming together. Even if it doesn't feel like it, the very strong message here is that things are coming together towards this new horizon. Look at that. In the near future, I've got the Star and the Hierophant. There's a lot of major arcana already. The Star is a card of healing. And the Hierophant speaks to truth and relationships and higher knowledge. And so what I'm seeing is that when we talk about new horizons, we're talking about you are shifting this environment, and this environment is going to end up in a place where things fall back into their rightful place. Okay? This is the restoration of order and much needed order. I'm seeing that from the Star and the idea of healing, okay, and truth in the Hierophant. And so that's where you're moving towards. And so this contrast speaks a lot to how much disorder this environment was in before, even if it didn't seem like it was in a state of disorder. I see something like Pandora's box. The idea of Pandora's box being, we don't want to open this box because if we open it, there's a whole lot of stuff that's going to come out that we're either not ready to deal with or that we don't want to deal with. And so we try to keep this box closed. But the thing about the stuff that's in the box is that even though it may be difficult to deal with, it brings a lot of lessons. It brings a lot of light. But the thing is that the kind of light that it promises, it's the kind that needs to be worked through. It will not just heal just by being there. It heals from being dealt with. Okay? And so I see you're up for the challenge because I've seen the sun and I've seen that Seven of Wands that maybe it'll show up again on the actual spread. I see from you breathing through every step and every choice that you make as you move through this space. And I also see every single step you take, it feels like you're challenged. It feels like every time you execute on a choice, you are challenged because you are polar opposites to, let's say, your counterpart or your opponent. And so one of the things I'm hoping we get advice for here is around how to preserve your energy, because there's a lot coming in, there's a lot moving across you, and being opposed constantly at every turn and every step means that a lot of energy is being leaked here. And what we want to see is energy preserved and transformed, transmuted, so that all of it is used efficiently, is how I want to put it. So for example, if a piece of information comes across you, it needs to be used rather than lost because everything is so chaotic. We also want to see the feeling level sort of brought down back to peaceful, because I don't feel like this energy level is sustainable. It's too intense. This intensity is not sustainable, and you're losing energy here. They're saying that not all the energy is lost. And what I saw is that as your energy leaves you, okay, even though you aren't able to track where it's gone, to you it feels lost. What they're showing me is your energy almost moving into your environment, and I'm unclear whether what they're showing me is suppressing negative activity, or if they're showing me sort of your energy going in and sort of preventing, I don't know what a word is for, like reducing the level of negative feedback. And so it's sort of stabilizing, that's the word. Your energy is working a lot at stabilizing a lot of this negative feedback. So they're saying it's not all lost. Okay, so what we're needing to do is just get you back to a point of peace. It's not all lost. It is moving across to the other environment that we described as like your opponent or your counterpart, your, that side. It is stabilizing things that side to reduce the level of negative feedback and amount. Okay, so what they're showing me is that you are actually now moving downwards in terms of the intensity already. Things are already going to be calming down, and so you can expect for things to feel more settled, less intense than they currently do. What they're showing me is that because you've been taking action, acting on your decisions, you've been moving, you haven't been stagnant and staying still. Because you've been taking action, these actions you've been taking are being understood on the other side, in the sense that they now understand how you're going to react. And so that there's no point sort of just throwing stuff at you, or, whatever this behavior is, this negative feedback, they're starting to understand how you're going to treat it. Yes. They're starting to understand how you're going to respond. And so that's what they mean by stabilizing. And so the kind of negative feedback, you're getting less, because there's almost no point throwing stuff at you, because all of that comes across to you, gets transmuted, and is immediately sent back. And the result is like defeat. Okay? And so the capability of the other side to fight you, to oppose you, to try and shut you down is dwindling. Yeah, you see, in your subconscious, I have the Magician in reverse. And so this is what's happening in your sort of subconscious mind. You feel and worry that you're not getting anywhere. And you're judging this based on the results you're seeing. You know what they're showing me is a wheel that's been turning and turning and turning in one direction. They're almost showing me a brake pad system, or the brake system, however it works in a car, and how if you want to stop a wheel from turning, You need to sort of touch it, and then obviously it will carry on moving in the direction that it's been moving in, but slower. And then you touch it again, and then it moves even slower, and you touch it again, it moves even slower. And so it looks like it's still moving in the same direction, but they're saying eventually, once it's slowed down fully and you touch it and change its direction, it'll start to move in the direction that you desire. So they're saying there's progress, but it's taking time for that progress to show, because that other sort of direction had gained so much momentum. You are slowing it down. And so don't be fooled. You are slowing it down, and you are moving in the right direction. In your advice, I have the 10 of Pentacles and the High Priestess. The first thing I'm hearing here is that you should be celebrating. You should be celebrating your progress. Definitely. And they're also showing me with these cards that there are future plans that you have envisioned. And they're saying to start planning on that basis. Because before you know it, it's going to be time to implement those plans. Before you know it. They're showing me you in a situation where all of this stuff is happening, but in your rest time, you're able to see sort of an ideal picture about how things should be. They're saying start making those plans. And they're saying that the reason why you're being showed these future plans is so that you don't lose momentum as soon as that wheel starts shifting in the positive direction that you're hoping for. And they're almost trying to explain, they're trying to get you to understand that even though it doesn't look like it, your direction has already shifted. You can't really see sort of this brake mechanism and its impact, but basically you have started progressing in the right direction. You just can't see it. I have 1717 on the clock. 17 is the star. And so they don't want you to only start thinking about how to plan and where to take things and how you really want things to be once everything is ready. They don't want you to lose momentum. And so they're saying start planning now, because before you know it, it's going to be time to implement those plans. I know I sometimes say stuff twice and sometimes more than that, but the reason is because it comes up again. It comes up again, and it's to impress on you the realness and the truth of it, of what I've said to you. They're also saying that some of these plans that you've envisioned, some of them seem unrealistic. I'm hearing like not traditional. And so some of the things you have seen and these ideas that you have sound a little bit unrealistic, or like they will not be adopted with ease. But they're saying don't discount them. There will be room. They're sort of showing me with everything changing, it's like a new place, new horizons. So right now, your sort of ability to digest that these things could fit and that they could work is limited because your horizon seems limited. But they're saying just over the hill, you'll be able to see the expanse and you'll be able to see the possibilities. And so nothing that you're thinking of right now is unrealistic. And they're saying, in fact, a lot of it will land as a great solution. So what looks crazy to you now, or like it won't be acceptable now, will actually land to others as a great solution. Another thing they're saying is what you're imagining is in line with an ideal world. In an ideal world, how would things look to you? Those are the plans they want you to make. In your surrounding factors, I have the world. That's amazing. This is 10 of Pentacles, the star, the Hierophant, the sun, and the moon all in one spread. And you think that nothing you're doing is working. This is a huge close of a cycle. They're saying you can expect a whole new world. And they're saying you are the right person for this job. That's sort of how they put it. And the way the card just flipped out, they're saying like it's going to flip like that. Then that's just because you can't see the workings of this wheel. You can't see it physically. And so it's going to appear like it just happened overnight. But they say that's not the case. And what they're showing me is that everything has already changed actually in reality. What hasn't changed yet and what's still shifting is the human catch-up. They're saying there's absolutely no going back. We've passed the point of no return. And they're saying it's just the humans that are catching up, and they're referring to you and your environment. And you know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing echoes. And so what you're dealing with right now is echoes. Echoes of past reality, echoes of past understanding. And so they're saying actually, if you can just breathe and accept that the inner workings of all of this are not fully visible to you. But if you look at the facts, they're saying if you just look at the facts of the situation and recognize that there's no turning back now, that is the truth. And it's also the settling in of this truth, okay, that is causing a lot of this sort of reduction in fighting with you. That's how it's come across. Less negative backlash is because the truth is settling in. And on the other side of this, the opposite side, I have you, and they're wanting you to embrace more optimism. And that's this 10 of Pentacles, more optimism, and to start making plans. Don't wait for everyone else to catch up. Once they catch up, then you start implementing the plans. And they're saying maybe even before that. What I'm seeing is that you actually would be way more ahead if you were ready. They're talking about being mentally ready to assume, like your new role, the new situation, the new world. And so they're just pointing out that you are also sort of in this lag. And so your game right now is that of embracing this new world, embracing this new reality, and not succumbing to the denial of others. In the area of what you want the most, but fear the most, that's Page of Cups, 5 of Pentacles, and the Lovers. What I'm seeing is you really wanting to share new ideas, these ideal sort of this ideal setting you've imagined. You want to try, but you're afraid that these will not be accepted and that you will end up actually being alienated from the whole idea. Okay? So but what I'm seeing is that you really want to implement these things. You really want these changes to happen. Okay, and so they're saying, again, this is only a fear right now because you can't see the new reality. Okay? In your outcome, I have the Emperor, the Ace of Swords, and the 9 of Pentacles. This is empowerment. This is clarity. This is growth. This is progress. This is being able to see where you're going. This is feeling equipped to move in that direction. Okay, this is the absence of confusion, the absence of questions. This is growth. This is a great reading. I want to just say again, I understand that the energy is intense, but I feel like the main message here was for you to see your position more clearly and to understand the nature of great change and how when everything is just so windy and moving everywhere and lots going on, it can be difficult to hear your own thoughts, come to your own clarity, and even misunderstand where you are. The wind blows and you kind of sort of sway to the left and sway to the right and you don't know where you are, but they're saying that so far, the way you've been holding yourself, holding the line, holding your position, answering questions that are being shot at you, something like that. you've been able to handle this really well, and you are part of why this direction is changing in the way it is and how things are going to be falling into place. And so this has been to remind you where you are. Okay? So there's nothing you're doing wrong. What they really want you to just do is relax. Stay alert, yes, but relax. I didn't have to tell you to stay alert. Jeepers. This is like seriously high vigilance mode. Okay? But they want you to start preserving more of your own energy, and redirecting your focus towards these plans, because you're going to need them before you know it. Okay? And I can feel that it's difficult to sort of get excited right now because you can't see. You can't see it. I'm just taking in all these cards all at once and realizing that all this major arcana is great, other than the Magician in reverse, which is only in your subconscious. It's only, and the Five of Pentacles, which is only in the area of your fear. Okay, and the idea of changing in a direction that maybe won't be accepted. They're saying it will. In fact, it will be a solution, not just a crazy idea. That's what they're saying. Okay, this is everything you wanted. Absolutely everything you wanted. I'm going to leave this here. I don't even know if I already said that, by the way. This energy. I could even feel it in the way my speech was coming out. You know, the hesitation and the stumbling on words and all of that. But I'm pretty sure that when I listen back to this, it's going to have come across clearly. I'm pretty sure that that's just the energy of the reading. That everything, when you look back, will be clear why it was so intense. And it will be clear when you look at the contrast in terms of just how much things have changed and what a higher standard is now being set. That's nice. I've been here today to actually remind you how powerful you are, because right now I can feel that you're not feeling that. You are. Okay? And so just keep that in your mind. Look at what's actually going on around you and remember yourself. Sending you so much love.